Hey ladies and gentlemen, this is Loomis and you're watching a guide on Alchemist. Alchemist is a melee strength hero that's arguably one of the best farmers in the entire game. He moves throughout fights better than most other melee heroes, has the fastest attack in the game, and is a hero that could tank a lot of punishments before dying. However, Alchemist's ability to tank is deceptive. It's in fact weak in stat growth, has low armor throughout the game, and is extremely dependent on his farm as well as his ultimate. Lastly, Alchemist is very versatile in what he brings to his team. Mostly played as a carry, Alchemist is a capable ganker and initiator. Acid Spray serves several different purposes for Alchemist throughout different stages of the game. During laning, the big AoE and large casting range allow Alchemist to slowly take over the lane, as most heroes without sufficient regen cannot stay under the acid cloud for too long. The 32 damage output per second combines very nicely with Radiance in the mid to late stages of the game, granting Alchemist an insane ability to farm quickly as well as deal decent AoE damage in fights. Because how large of the AoE is, Acid Spray does a fine job deterring Blink user in teamfights as well as slowing down pushes. The minus armor component of Acid Spray becomes more relevant during the later stages of the game when Alchemist's physical damage output can take advantage of the armor debuff. The mana cost and cooldown of Acid Spray is very large, making it difficult to sustain spamming the spell. As such, be careful about the placement of the spell and try to lock down strategical areas such as ramps and high grounds. Lane harass, farming tool, counter push, armor debuff, Acid Spray does it all. Unstable Concoction's damage and stun duration increase as Alchemist charges the stun, dishing out 360 damage and 4-second stun and max brew time. In most cases, however, throwing the concoction early is preferred against heroes that pack many stuns or silences. This is especially true when chasing through the forest or at nighttime, as Unstable Concoction can backfire easily. Due to the small AoE of the stun, it cannot be used reliably as a crowd control spell, so treat it as a single target stun with an upside. Unstable Concoction is a risky spell to use during teamfights. It's high damaging and it's a great stun, combining with the low cooldown, making it one of the best spells to spam in teamfights. However, the downside of having your team's most damaging hero stun for 4 seconds makes the proposition very risky. Depending on the number of stuns and silences available on the enemy team, use Concoction accordingly. Furthermore, Unstable Concoction immediately begins cooling down during the brew time, so in longer chases or fights, Alchemist can fire off several stuns. Lastly, due to the low brew time of Concoction, Alchemist can begin a TP with a stun brewing and port in ready to fire. It's risky, but Unstable Concoction has great damage and stun duration, making it a potent spell to have on your arsenal. Grievous Greed is what makes Alchemist one of the best farmers in the entire game. Nearly doubling the bounty of each lane creep, Max Greed allows Alchemist to ramp up to some insane late game items faster than most other carries. By far the most important aspect of Greed is how much more Alchemist can earn from the jungle. With a combination of Acid Spray and Greed, low-level jungle camps can earn Alchemist big money, since they spawn in high numbers and are easy to take down. Make note of stacking camps when the situation allows for it, since each stack more than doubles your gold intake with max greed. What more can we say about this? Greed is good. Chemical Rage makes up for Alchemist's lackluster stat growth, at least for the duration of the ultimate, granting 900 raw HP, 60 HP regen per second, 12 mana regen per second, and plus 60 movement speed, and most importantly a 1.0 base attack time. Chemical Rage turns Alchemist into a tank, chaser, and a damage dealer all at the same time. Chemical Rage has many interesting mechanic nuances. Firstly, the 900 HP bonus works similar to tread switching, which means you can only get 900 extra HP when you're at max health. If not, your HP pool stays the same percentage, gaining only a portion of the 900 HP. In simpler terms, this means when facing against incoming nukes and spells, using Chemical Rage as soon as possible ensures the greatest chance of survival. Chemical Rage is a transformation type spell, and like other transformation spells, it allows Alchemist to dodge certain projectiles while transforming. Since most of Alchemist's ability to tank, chase, or DPS come from this ultimate, make sure it's always available for teamfights. It's dangerous to go alone, take Chemical Rage with you when you're heading into battle. With this in mind, the suggested skill build is: know that Acid Spray and Grievous Greed are quite interchangeable when leveling up Alchemist. In lanes where Alchemist has relatively free farm, maxing Grievous Greed allow the highest rate of farm. Conversely, Acid Spray is a good lane control ability, and if Alchemist is left to fend for himself, Spray can net him a decent amount of farm and harass. Keep in mind that all Alchemist spells are fairly unimpressive until maxed, so it's imperative to identify your skill tree as soon as you understand the matchup of the lanes. Should the laning situation demand a more aggressive build, consider the Ganker/Initiator Alchemist build. Unstable Concoction is prioritized due to its damage output, and in conjunction with lane partners, it can easily net many kills. The decision to max Greevil's Greed or Acid Spray after Unstable Concoction depends on whether the team needs you to farm or gank. Unlike many other heroes, Alchemist has a versatile enough skill set to play in multiple roles. By far, Alchemist is most suited for carry role since his ability to farm is unmatched. However, Alchemist can also make a fine ganker or initiator thanks to his great stun and tanky nature. It isn't to say that the two roles are mutually exclusive from one another, but keep in mind that Alchemist's skill and item build should adjust to the role that you're playing for. As the carry, Alchemist's primary goal is to stay out of harm's way and farm. Selecting the safe lane is generally preferred, and prioritizing on surviving while getting an incremental advantage is ideal. Once Alchemist reaches level 6, he has to get out of a jail free card for most situations, or find a way to regenerate both mana and HP. With his ultimate on, he's a fine tower diver with the help of teammates, but for the most part, the carry Alchemist is mostly playing by himself. Once Greed and Acid Spray is maxed, consider pulling nearby camps to further accelerate farm. Don't forget Alchemist is a decent pusher as well, and if teammates are taking fights elsewhere, take advantage of the empty lane and knock down some nearby towers. As a ganker, Alchemist's early game comes from his high burst damage and stun duration. With a single lead disable, Alchemist will have enough time to brew Unstable Concoction and follow up with a great chain stun. The nukes will be dealing a majority of the damage, meanwhile Acid Spray will deter enemies from taking prolonged engagements, all the while improving Alchemist and his allies' damage output. Keep in mind that Alchemist is fairly frail without his ultimate on, and keep diving to a minimum. If a kill cannot be secured several seconds after Concoction has been released, chances are Alchemist is not getting the kill. As a ganker, Alchemist works in most lanes with a decent lane partner, and even as a solo, Alchemist can hold down the fort. Alchemist can beat most solo mid heroes on his own with continuous Acid Spray spam, and even frequent mid dominant heroes such as Templar Assassin and Viper will have trouble against Alchemist. In the later portions of the game, at worst, Alchemist is a decent tank if he has enough armor, and if he's farmed enough, he plows through the entire team while drawing off a lot of fire from your teammates. Since Chemical Rage gives insane movement speed bonus, he could easily chase down slower support heroes or outrun other carries with ease. As always, keep a close eye on the duration of Alchemist's ultimate and know when to retreat from fights. As a carry, Alchemist is likely to be the most farmed and most stacked hero on the map, and as a ganker, Alchemist will be drawing a lot of spells and focus, providing a lot more room for his allies to maneuver. Mechanically, movement speed and attack speed items benefit from the already high base movement speed and low base attack time provided by a Chemical Rage. A good number of items Alchemist wants increase both of these aspects. Also, taking advantage of Alchemist's high health and HP regen during the ultimate, he can become a fine tank with enough armor. Alchemist's item set predominantly focus on further powering this strength and patching up his weaknesses. However, one of the items that does not fall under any of these categories is Radiance. When finished early enough, not only does Radiance provide large raw damage bonuses, which will go hand in hand with the steroid attack speed increases, the AoE damage makes deadly combination with Acid Spray. Since Alchemist is built tanky, many lineup can do little against an extremely mobile AoE damage healer. Though Radiance does not give Alchemist any more survivability, coupled with other items that do, Radiance is one of Alchemist's best damage items. Of course, Radiance also synergizes beautifully with Greevil's Greed to accelerate farm, allowing Alchemist to power through his inventory slots. The de facto choice for armor item is Assault Cuirass. The armor bonus is exactly what a high health hero like Alchemist wants, and a large increase in attack speed and aura debuff on enemies' armor synergize perfectly with the rest of his skill set. As such, Assault Cuirass outclasses many other armor items and should be considered as a first choice in many situations. Blade Mail deserves a special mention due to how tanky Alchemist is with Chemical Rage. Against extremely bursty carries and nukers, Blade Mail is a good item consideration if Alchemist cannot directly compete in damage output. Entirely situational, Blade Mail is a decent item in scenarios where Alchemist is struggling but is still expected to tank in the front lines. Alchemist's high mobility is what prevents most support from kiting him with slows and stuns. Phase Boost's 16% speed bonus works wonder when combined with Chemical Rage's raw plus 60 movement speed increase, allowing Alchemist to chase extremely effectively. Shadow Blade is also a great movement speed based item, especially for ganking and initiating. It almost always ensures a high duration disable for an unstable concoction, and in combination with Chemical Rage and Shadow Blade activation, Alchemist is almost impossible to chase down. Shadow Blade also gives Alchemist a great attack speed bonus, making it a great alternative damage choice to Radiance. Mantisyle deserves a special mention for being a great match with Alchemist, despite Alchemist being a strength hero. Offensively, the Manta split allows Illusion to create high amount of havoc in teamfights. The Illusions benefit from Chemical Rage's bonuses, thus they are great tanks. Especially with Radiance involved, a pair of Illusions can easily chase supports around in fights, disrupting their spell casting from backlines, and often getting a kill without actual Alchemists ever needing to attack. When sieging towers and Raxes, the Illusions add a sizable amount of damage output since they also attack insanely fast. Defensively, Manta Split's one of the best ways to deal with opposing silences. The debuff of silences guarantees Chemical Rage activation, even against strong initiators from opposing teams. Furthermore, in combination with Phase Boost and Chemical Rage, Mantisyle allows Alchemist to almost achieve max movement speed, giving him more potency in his chasing. If Radiance was not the damage item of choice, Mjolnir or Abyssal Blade both take good advantage of Alchemist's lowest base attack time in the game. Mjolnir is a good choice when dealing with heroes with high armor values, or if the team needs a bit of more AoE damage output. The static charge buff also synergizes quite well with Alchemist's innate tankiness. Basher and Abyssal Blade are great against opposing carries with magical immunity, or simply providing more lockdown against heroes that are trying to run from Alchemist. This is an extremely expensive item set, though highly achievable thanks to Grievo's Greed. With this in mind, a suggested Alchemist item build can be: should Alchemist find himself struggling in the early stages of the game, consider opting for cheaper armor items like Blade Mail as previously mentioned. Vanguards are also a very safe buy against teams with high damaging nukes or dangerous disables. On the same token, a simple cloak is also recommended against these teams as well. Depending on your role, Alchemist has different goals throughout the game. As a carry, he prioritizes on surviving and farming in lane, pushing a tower when it's safe to do so, or go stack a jungle for efficient farm when it's not. A carry Alchemist wants to be constantly farming, taking advantage of his Grievo's Greed. As a roamer or ganker, stay aggressive and aid your teammates in ganks and tower diving. Even so, Alchemist still can be an effective semi-carry due to income from Grievo's Greed, so don't be afraid to take a bit of time off from your ganking and go back to farming. No matter the role, Alchemist wants to be the most dominant hero in teamfights. His damage output and chasing ability is unmatched, which allows him to take out high priority targets in fights. This includes powerful AoE disablers, or simply the barracks if that's what the team's goal for the push is. Alchemist can act as a decent sponge for the enemy fire if his allies can provide the damage output, as he can tank a lot of punishment before dropping. Beyond his item and level dependency, Alchemist is extremely reliant on Chemical Rage. Though Grievo's Greed help with filling the inventory slots, it takes good positioning and proper usage of Unstable Concoction and Acid Spray in order to dominate with Alchemist. When all goes right, Alchemist is unbelievably tanky, insanely agile in fights, and is the quickest attacker in the entire game. I hope you guys learned something from this guide and have fun playing Alchemist. I'm looking to make these guides better and better, so if you have some constructive feedback, please let me know in the comment section below. If you want to see more guides and support me, please like and subscribe. My next guide will be on Ancient Apparition, but for now, thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Luminous, signing off. GG guys.